Weather at 10. Hopefully you have avoided the worst of what the weather had for you today. As you saw probably from our push alert, for those of us, we don't do a lot of those at 10 o'clock now, but the headline tonight is you can go to sleep and we will be in good shape. You can still see the clouds moving behind our Mitchell Cunningham bowling camera that you see behind me there. But I think our headline tonight is we are past the worst of it. And in some case, the worst has been pretty significant. We have had reports of damage to homes there in the Golden Triangle, multiple homes in multiple locations in both Columbus and West Point. At this point, we have not heard any reports of injuries from either of those situations. The large hail damage also very significant in and around the West, in particular, east of the West Point and in the Columbus area as well. It will be drier for Tuesday. It's kind of our day off in between now and the storms we've had, and another chance for some stronger thunderstorms as we head toward Wednesday. Severe weather threat we've been talking about for a week on Wednesday. Things do look a little bit better for you and I and a little less good for storms. We're still going to have them. How strong and when? We're looking at triple threat, which does have some rotation tracks close by. We're also looking at your Storm Finder, 2 exclusive here, the Mississippi Live weather, in a couple of minutes. But we are past, obviously, the peak of storms. We still have some loud ones out there. We'll track you those on Mama Justice Doppler radar here in a moment. We're 66 at 11, 65 by 2 o'clock in the morning, and dropping back into the mid to low 60s by early morning on your Tuesday. And it's going to be just ever so slightly cooler, not really much cooler than today. It'll be slightly less humid, but that humid air stays close enough that we have plenty of fuel for thunderstorms to work off of going forward. Mama Justice Doppler radar, you can see kind of our front sort of lifting back northward as it does. Again, more unstable air continues to kind of move back in. But at this hour, we have no other advisories or warnings or anything along those lines as we have seen all of those move out of here. We will track these showers out there in more detail where they're at right now, coming up here in a couple minutes. But the overview for you, looking at Futurecast for tonight, just to kind of verify what we've said, again, maybe a few isolated rumbles still possible. Okay, that's not true. We will have rumbles likely overnight, but we will not have strong to severe thunderstorms. We'll look at Futurecast really close in a minute. But again, with this front around, we'll still have at least a couple of those isolated showers and thunderstorms through the early tomorrow morning, I think, to our Alabama counties out there in the North Alabama, and then moving away from us. On your Tuesday, the rain chance doesn't drop to 0. As you can see, we'll have a couple of isolated sprinkles, but in comparison to today, and in comparison to Wednesday, obviously we have lesser chances for rainfall on your Tuesday. So as we look over the next 24 hours, we'll say maybe 10% on that chance for a few isolated showers late for your Tuesday afternoon into evening. But most of us are probably dry. Low 80s out there for highs. We should be low 60s, so still 20 degrees above our normal. And you can see those southerly winds bringing in more of that humid air as we go back over and flip back over to storm chances, in particular, really focused on Wednesday. Now, we're coming up right after the break. We're going to look at the Storm Finder and its assessment on our chances. I think it has some good news for us, but the very latest on our severe risk areas, and a look at Mama Justice Doppler radar going along and looking at all these thunderstorms as Mississippi Live weather continues here from the Room to Room Weather Center. Next.
As a bankruptcy firm, Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling realizes many people are worried about their finances. We're here to guide you through the next steps to restart your life with easy video appointments. New clients don't have to leave home to get information about becoming debt-free. Also, convenient in-office appointments are available at the low cost of $340 upfront for a Chapter 13. You can be on your way to being debt-free. Contact Mitchell, Cunningham, and Bowling today or visit our website at mcdebtfree.com. We are here to help you.
The bravest thing that my dad has done has been going back to school.
It wasn't when he first enlisted, it was when he found his first support group.
The bravest thing she did is when she asked for help.
Right now, from the Room to Room Weather Center, here's Mississippi's Chief Meteorologist, Matt Lovhaug.
Tranquil and cloudy in the Batesville area. You're watching Mississippi Live Weather. I'm Chief Meteorologist Matt Lopon. Our camera with the North Mississippi Storm Chasers there. You are in full go-to-sleep mode there in Batesville, as is the case in Pontotoc as well as many other locations. Dark, but thankfully none of those lightning flashes showing up. Nope, right there. Kind of threw me off for a second. But what we have, again, the tower we're on has a light flashing to say, hey, look at me. And we have some clouds, some fog that has kind of developed in some spots out there and low clouds. I think better shown from our Mitchell Cunningham and Bowling camera on the south side of Tupelo. As you can see, those clouds, we're looking in a different direction there. Watch when this engages here in about a second. Look how fast and how low those clouds are, kind of moving from the south. So a sign of just how humid it is out there. We're 63, probably not dropping, but a couple degrees from where we're at right now overnight, as we're just low enough with this cloud cover and just high enough with this camera to be actually up in the clouds. That's how kind of fast moving. You can see the cars moving on Gloucester there. That one probably not moving full 40 miles an hour, but that tells you that these clouds are probably moving 15 to 20 miles per hour. So fairly quick moving this evening. If we go down there to Smithville, where we're actually around the rainfall still ongoing there in Monroe County, those clouds also moving fairly quickly at that shot there, but good visibility as we look the opposite direction of the rainfall. As we bring it in here and check out Mama Justice Doppler radar, you can see that rainfall has kind of cleared Smithville, Sipsey Fork, Pine Springs, Detroit, where it's a little bit heavier, kind of moving east. But if we look at our hail tracker brought to you by True Shield Hail, or True Shield Roofing there. No hail to contend with there or really any other location at this point. Obviously, you can see the residuals that was left from that big hail producer we had in Columbus, now far enough in the past that it disappears off of our map. And we'll look at some of those hail pictures that you sent in coming up here in a couple of minutes. But let's get the Storm Finder. It's an exclusive you'll get only here on Mississippi Live. Again, Storm Finder shows kind of where storms are most likely, kind of helping you get a good idea of, like, is it possible that we will have storms, and then is it possible they will be strong, kind of all on the same graphic. When you look at this here, you'll notice we don't have particularly strong colors of purple. The purple here is showing you in the storm chances, where it's brighter purple. Those chances are higher. You can see for tomorrow, certainly back out into Texas, where there's a more significant risk for severe weather. That's where they are highest. Out into Arkansas, as we head toward tomorrow evening, again, big cluster of a lot of lightning. That means some strong severe thunderstorms there. There is a tornado threat, damaging wind threat for locations back west of us for tomorrow. So that's what Storm Finder looks like when it's got strong thunderstorms on it. Looking toward early Wednesday, most of those storms back out into Arkansas, and again, really this batch here into Texas along a front. A front that'll continue kind of illuminate with thunderstorms moving toward our area as well. But if you look here across North Mississippi at 7:30 p.m. on your Wednesday, what we have here is interesting. And I don't know that we can quite trust it yet. I think our models are still digesting what has happened today and getting this wave out of here to get a good idea on Wednesday. But looking at this here, what I noticed is, again, widespread purple. That means storm chances remain pretty fairly high on this. You can see plenty of rainfall showing up in the background there. That is our strike model, and we'll look specifically at the timing on that in a minute. But what I also see here is only more limited amounts of lightning on these storms. So an idea, a sign that perhaps the severity is not super duper high. I think we're still going to have some severe thunderstorms, but I don't think that this is a slam dunk, everybody gets it severe weather threat. It's more conditional, and that's one of the things that we're going to work on discussing here in a minute. Most of the thunderstorms, as you can see, by Thursday south. And if you look at that and go, hold on, what's the big deal? It's a great question. I think that's one of the questions we'll work to answer. When we look at the severe weather risk for your Wednesday here, as you can see, all locations under that level 2 out of 5 severe weather risk. And we were under a level 2 out of 5 risk for today. The question is whether or not we see an upgrade to a level 3 risk on this. Based on what I saw a second ago on our Storm Finder and what I'm going to show you here in a couple minutes, I'd be hard-pressed to upgrade our risk level based on tonight's data. Now, it could change tomorrow, but things a little bit out of sync for that. Fingers crossed that's the way it holds on this. So looking at our severe confidence, again, flooding potential, I think, is more likely to be our issue as we look toward Wednesday there. There could be some large hail. There could be some damaging wind gusts, and I do think a few tornadoes are possible. But none of these have risen to a higher confidence level on this yet. but we will see tomorrow's information. Again, the reason that's so important is because you kind of have to get one wave out of here before you can really digest the next. That's why even tomorrow morning, our meteorologist Maggie McCauley will have a great look at how things are evolving with this threat on Mississippi Live Weather this morning, 6:37, 7:30 a.m. Also, any issues you have with travel, she'll have updates on that for you here in the Room to Room Weather Center. So stay tuned again for the latest as far as that is concerned there. But I think the main headline is that she will continue to have updates on this as we kind of go through the morning. As we bring it back in here, and again, look at the hour-by-hour forecast for the next few hours here. As you can see, that we're past the peak on storm chances. As we look toward early tomorrow morning, we should be dry, despite the fact we'll still have wet roadways out there. Thankfully, not as many people on the roads because it's spring break. But if you're going to be out and about, watching some of those back roads for the potential to have some travel issues, because talking to some of the folks in Union County and Lafayette County, one of the problems is now the water going through the ditches has washed some of the tree limbs from the ice storm back. I mean, 81, well above our normal for this time of year. So even on your Tuesday. So here's Futurecast tonight. The storm's exiting, moving east, moving out of here, diminishing in intensity. Maybe a few showers up here, Marietta, Arkansas, back out toward Olive Branch and Holly Springs. Not a ton of activity there, and you'll notice nothing that gets any yellows, oranges, or reds. So nothing that's overly heavy. So temperature 6 and critically tube 63. Normal's 42, so blowing that out of the water. Again, way above normal. All the moisture, the stickiness, a lot of it still sticks around. As we go throughout your Tuesday, you can send widespread cloud cover here, 9, 10, 11 o'clock in the morning. A few isolated showers. Again, not expecting to really add up to hardly anything out there. And with maybe a couple of isolated showers into the afternoon, maybe a rumble, not impossible, but you can see our HRRR model here, underwhelmed by what it's seeing in that regard there. So Tuesday will be somewhere in the neighborhood of the low normalist time of year, 82, 65. But yeah, look at that. We're forecasting 82 Tupelo, 83 degrees in Amory, 80 Columbus, and about 82 in Belzona. So Futurecast, again, keeping it dry into your Wednesday evening. A few sprinkles out there in Northwest. My dog Duke here has decided that this is where he's. I'm bumping him one direction. I'll move over there. I'll bump him this here. So I apologize if I look like I'm walking weird. I promise my hips all work right. He has just decided that this is where he's going to be, and so this is where he's going to be. Your Tuesday evening, here are those thunderstorms producing all that lightning back out there into Arkansas, and some of these could again be strong to severe, damaging winds, hail, tornadoes, all a possibility on this. But you notice for us here in North Mississippi, don't really see much, do we? Even into early Wednesday morning. The focal point for all the active weather back to the west of us, 4:35, 6 a.m. or so. So we're going to start off early Wednesday morning in the low to mid 60s. Again, well above that 43 we typically should be. I mean, we're practically 70 actually in Belzona and Greenville, coming at 67 degrees in Cleveland, 65 in Columbus and Amory, 64 degrees in Vernon, and 63 in Hamilton, Alabama. So here is Wednesday. Wednesday's the day of interest, and we're going to talk to Gabe about his thoughts on this here in a moment as well, and eventually we'll get to some of your weather pictures. So this is our HRRR model, the latest version in tonight. Notice how, again, it has some of those isolated storms back out into Arkansas and into the Delta. We're looking at noontime here on Wednesday. As these work eastward, again, maybe some embedded that are a little heavier, like that one up towards Savannah, Tennessee. They get these isolated storms. This is not widespread, everybody's stuff, but these isolated storms kind of developing ahead of our front. That's where we get some rotation potential out of these. This is not a 5-alarm fire. Oh my goodness. This is really bad situation on these, if I'm honest. This is... Hold on, I'm going to bring Gabe in there. Looks like we had to reset something there a second ago. We all good, Gabe?
Yeah. What happened?
Did you have to reset the stream?
Nope.
Oh, behind the scenes here, it looked like the stream we set. Interesting. I wonder if we ran out of hours on that, because if we would start 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I think every 7 or 8 hours, all the streams have to restart anyway. I think that might be a Facebook rule. Could be wrong about that.
Good to know. Good
But
to know.
AI just looked up. I was like, uh-oh, did something happen? Never mind.
No,
Okay.
not to my
We'll
knowledge.
talk more about what you have there here in just a second. I'm going to go through this in the strike model first. So
All right.
I'll come back. I just wanted to make sure that I wasn't missing something too terribly bad there. I appreciate that, Gabe. Okay. So there's the isolated storms kind of developing, and a few more of those by 5 to 6 o'clock. Here's the thing. We run out of HRRR data as 5 p.m. So we 6, 7, 8 o'clock. But the fact that storm is discrete a little bit more, usually have a little more rotation with them. So that's one of our concerns. So let's look at our Futurecast. Now, this is going to be our strike model here, exclusive here to Mississippi Live Weather. This should be the most recent version of the strike. You can see how it also by noontime doesn't have much, has a few of these thunderstorms kind of developing ahead of that main line out toward Cleveland, Shelby, Oxford. Doesn't get them too terribly strong by 2 to 3 o'clock. A greater number of these getting a little stronger by 4:30 to 5. Pretty much just right ahead of the line. What it does not have on this, kind of looking at it, it does not have as many storms in advance that are quite as heavy as what we looked at there. But we can get an idea of how it's going to develop those into the evening. As you can see, this keeps them hugged right near the line, right at the line itself. It does not have a lot of warm sector thunderstorms ahead of that there. We'll go all nerd on this here in a minute, but I'm going to, before we go all nerd on this, just want to kind of get a look on the wide shot. Again, this keeps the main low pressure center south of us, closer to the coast. Typically, if we were talking about a significant severe weather event, we'd expect it to be farther north than this. So one of these hugging the coast is a good sign for us, and hopefully a sign of a less intense storm system. Here's triple threat. This is something you'll see only on Mississippi Live. Can't find it anywhere else out there. It allows us to look at damaging wind, storm rotation, and hail threat all on the same graphic. And so as we look between now and say 6 p.m. tomorrow, it definitely says those thunderstorms back in the Texas. Quite a few sustained rotation tracks with them. In some cases, where you see the blues here, some damaging wind gusts, maybe even some significant ones there closer to Midland, Texas, or Hobbs, New Mexico, and also some hail back there toward Wichita Falls. So this is triple threat. We've calibrated, we've looked at what it is capable of back out into Texas. As we head toward tomorrow night, you can see that line, a lot of the purples down there in South Texas, south of San Angelo, those back even into Mexico there, a lot of large hail with this system as well, and quite a few of those showing some sustained signs of rotation for long periods of time. But through Wednesday morning, which means all day tomorrow, no issues for us here across North Mississippi. Gets close, yes, but stays west of us. So here's how triple threat evolves with these thunderstorms on Wednesday. Through noontime, nothing of concern. Into the afternoon, though, we get a few of these that, again, did not look particularly impressive a moment ago. We're looking at radar, or we're looking at Futurecast on our strike model, but then yet kick out some hail. And so sustained areas of rotation, like that one up there from Corinth back eastward, and then another one up here from north of Ashland, Brownsville there, closer to around Middleton, Tennessee. And there's another one in New Albany, another one in Batesville. Takeaway being, perhaps these are going to have more rotation and be a little more stout than what initially meets the eye. That's why triple threat has value. And then, as you can see here, another one near Shelby, and a few other brief ones aiming back out toward Hamilton, Alabama. What I can clearly tell you here is the output on this for triple threat is a little more impressive on some of these rotating storms than what we had looking 48 hours out when we were looking at Monday's forecast. So all of that to say, today's forecast. So all that to say, triple threat is, despite not looking terribly impressive on the output of the precipitation models, it's got some spots there where we have the hail, doesn't have as much wind, and it does in some cases have some of those rotation tracks. More on that in a moment, but I want to get you a 7-day forecast before Gabe and I go all nerd on this. So again, 60% on that storm coverage on Wednesday. As you saw there, not much tomorrow. Again, 10%, maybe a limited chance. But by Wednesday, we're going to have thunderstorms. We're going to have some that are strong to severe. Not every storm will be. And this is not a slam dunk severe weather risk, but we have a level 2 risk that involves all locations that watch us here in North Mississippi. What we can say is, unlike today to Wednesday, where we go a day and then we reload and have more storms, it's going to take a while longer because as you look at these low temperatures, you can tell dry air moves in. I mean, come on. Could be upper 30s out there for early Friday morning. That means frost is a possibility. Don't plant yet. That's one of the things I always said. Mrs. Lawpon did some planting this week, and I was like, okay, do you, boo. But you can see we're warming up as we head this upcoming weekend. And while rain chances and storm chances come back by this next weekend, there's still more questions and answers around that because that doesn't have a ton of lower level moisture by then. Okay, Gabe, it is now time for Nerdcast, part of the show. We appreciate everyone for sticking with us at this point. Here's where we decide whether or not what we just showed you is a bunch of garbage, which I don't think it's garbage. But, you know, here's where Gabe makes his pitch. So make your pitch, Mr. Maynor. What do you think?
Well, I mean, honestly, let's go best case scenario, worst case scenario real quick. I think let's go best case scenario first. The low stays south. We're going to be dealing with a very scattered, rainy afternoon that kind of eats at the energy and then limits our severe weather potential heading into the afternoon and evening. And I think that's a possibility. But again, that's best case scenario. Worst case scenario, we get that warm sector to lift north around lunchtime, and then you're looking at a destabilized zone where those storms are going to develop those individual cells and then potentially produce a few storms that might even produce a tornado. So, you know, I think both are on the table with this setup. And that's one of the things that I was assessing with this zero-Z model run is the fact that, you know, each of these runs that I'm about to show you has a different positioning on this warm sector and on the cold front. So that's the thing about it. Some ironing out that needs to get done here with these next couple of runs that kind of solidifies the positioning. And of course, we do favor some of these more than the other. But if we look at the HRRR, let me get back on that real quick. You can see that there's your warm sector, there's your cold front, and there's your individual cells. And again, this entire area is the warm sector where there's going to be a ton of warm, moist air that this is going to be able to eat into. Well, then let's pull the NAM3K, which tends to be a little bit more aggressive, but nonetheless is still one of our high resolution runs. And you can see that we have that cold front a little bit established right there towards Louisiana and Arkansas. And there's your warm sector once again. Look at the similarities real quick. So there's your NAM and there's your HRRR. Very little change in regards to the positioning of the warm sector. The interesting thing that the HRRR has compared to the NAM is the fact that these individual cells, and this is the end of our run, unfortunately, so by 6Z, by 12Z, we'll get a better alignment with that with our meteorologist Maggie McCauley, but that's where this becomes a more concerning setup. And that's where I'm curious to see if that holds true, if that holds a little bit of consistency, because like I said, the NAM3K doesn't have any of those individual cells. The strike model isn't overdoing those individual cells. So there's still some alignment that needs to happen.
They're so small. That's the thing I have a hard time with.
But
usually,
wait.
Go ahead.
They're just happening. So let's go back on a loop here real quick.
They're just initiating. But see, they're just initiating at 0Z, right? And 0Z is 7 p.m. now with the time change. No.
Yes. No,
Yes.
it's 6Z. It's 6 o'clock. 6 hour difference.
No, it's 7.
Oh, 7? Oh, wait. You're right.
With the time change. I had to think about it. I had to really work that over my brain. Yeah, it's 7 o'clock.
There's no brain left in me. I'm sorry.
No, it's in there. Trust me. I trust you. So let's look at, we'll go to run on CAPE here in a minute, and we'll look at that in a second. I'm going to kind of do that here myself for a moment. I'm going to kind of pop it at full screen for a second here. And I'm going to look at kind of the overall setup here for a moment. So again, as we talked about that system, we looked at it, the jet stream, or we looked at it, well, I guess on water vapor right before the broadcast there, the big storm system they have out toward the Baja of California. That is kicking eastward. And as it does, it kicks toward us. And that's what makes it more interesting as we go toward Thursday morning, but it's really late Wednesday evening. So this trough, this system as it comes in, this big dip you see here is going to be our weather maker. And as you'll note here on Wednesday, it gets close enough to us. We have strong winds aloft here Wednesday afternoon. If you look beneath that, again, this is our GFS model. It's not one of our highest resolution ones, but if you look closely, you can see that orange indicating that warm sector all the way up through at least most of North Mississippi. If we get storms that attach to a warm front, warm frontal storms have more beneficial shear and are more likely to produce tornadoes. So if a storm gets attached to that front, and this does happen in March from time to time, you'll get maybe 1 or 2 thunderstorms that have extra rotation with them and extra shear. So they might not necessarily look as impressive on some of our models and then end up being more impressive in real life because of that extra boost that the boundary itself gives them. So that's one of the concerns. This system does kick right on through, and in its wake, not much left behind it. If we kind of get an idea here for just a moment, looking toward the weekend storm system, by the way, where we're looking to talk about some rainfall and storms by then. As you'll see there, fuel just getting up. We have a system kind of bending out of the northwest. So that's not typically one at this angle that will be as concerning. But we'll see if that digs a little deeper. That could get more interesting. And then our overall pattern, more northwest flow. Don't really get a lot of Cape in here until the latter part of the month. So if we get past this weekend, we get a little while off before we kind of get back to the next batch there. So I'm going to look at our Barron, our strike model here to show that fuel. Again, plenty of fuel out there this evening. I'm going to make sure that this goes all the way through the conclusion of storms. So let's go 65 hours. That should get me all the way through. And so you'll notice how we still have plenty of fuel out there tonight, a more limited amount tomorrow, but it's there. We just don't have kind of the main lifting mechanism. This allows us to kind of see where the warm sector is that Gabe was mentioning, basically where we have the most unstable air in place. That's going to be the areas in yellows and orange on Wednesday. And so most locations here in North Mississippi fall into this warm sector here, where this frontal boundary is, and if it behaves more like a cold front or more like a warm front, that remains the question. That, what I just saw there, looks a lot more like a cold front in the way that comes in, moving in from the north and west. So maybe a stationary front, which obviously it's not stationary if it's moving, but that looks a lot more like a cold front than a warm front. So we will see there could be an effective warm front in there as well. And then again, look at that HRRR Cape, the latest version that came in, again, going as far out as we can take that there. What's interesting about it is that this looks more like a warm front. So you can see how this is kind of being eaten away by a combination of storms and the cold. I would say that looks more like storms eating that away. But last couple scans, last couple hours there, watch this back here toward Greenwood. See how it starts pushing northward? Does that overcome it? And we end up with a surge with that warm front. I think that's what Gabe's talking about. So let's look at this Cape, this convective available potential energy and how it behaves with our meteorologist, Gabe Mainers. We're kind of looking time period there and looking how it evolves on our different models. Let's find the warm sector. Let's look at it.
Well, yeah, so this is a 6 p.m. run for each of our short range models. And again, you're kind of getting a visual. You almost see almost reaching a corner right there with the warm front lifting up there towards the north, and then you get that cold front there back behind it, both of which are lifting mechanisms and both of which are possible to affect our forecast. But, you know, you're getting a visual of different ones of our short range model runs, and some are more impressive than others. And you know, some of them do line up with what the strike model was showing. So I'm not saying that that's an impossibility, but I'm hopeful that that gets an answer here in the next 24 hours. But looking at each of these runs, and let's go over to the NAM 3K, looks much more linear. And I think the NAM 3K and the Barron model, the strike model are lining up pretty similarly, because that is a very linear option that's kind of moving on through almost a stationary front, Matt, like you were mentioning. So if a warm sector does form, I think that's, again, allowing for that instability to climb a little bit more towards the north, whereas that stationary front, you know, doesn't allow a ton of cape here into the North Mississippi area. So one of the things that I was reading over there at the forecast discussion was, you know, the potential for a low cape, high shear environment. And so that's a unique setup, because kind of today we didn't have a ton of shear, but we had a lot of cape. So and we got a pretty decent output of those severe storms as well. So I don't think that's impossible. I think the vertical winds are a little bit more aligned if this were to kind of get the strength and get that unstable air that it needs to potentially produce some of those rotating storms, and with the orientation that they do have, potentially tornadic storms. So I think it's more favorable for that, but I do think that there are still some limiting factors whenever we're talking about the positioning of the warm sector and how that relates to the storms that we're expecting Wednesday night or Wednesday evening into Wednesday night.
Okay, so kind of takeaway here, looking at this, you know, and talking with our friends at North Mississippi Storm Chasers, they're again partners, and we appreciate them for being such great partners with us all months of the year, much less just, you know, during the active severe weather season that, you know, obviously we're working our way into here. talking about some of these high-res models and, kicking out some of the pretty impressive, supercell structures on some of these close to the boundary, right? I'm looking to try to find, there's one, they're like, there's one in particular that's really kicking out one. I'm trying to see if I can get a shot of it here. Here we go. So let's look at, well, I'm going to have to take it full screen so we can see that. So give me a moment to pull that up. We'll see if that pulls up on there like that. Nope, I'm not going to be able to do that. So we're going to have to bring it back in here. Hold on. Whoop. There we go. Okay, so this is kind of one of those gross models, that we look at here. Showing some of those, we're looking at Wednesday here, afternoon. A few thunder. Oh, see, apparently this is why I should not just like click while looking the opposite direction. Nope. Come on. Oh, it's going to do that every time. That's fun. Okay, hold on. I think I need forecast loop. There we go. Now we can do this. Okay. Okay, so now we are, okay. This is Wednesday afternoon, evening. This would be 6 p.m. Wednesday. What's interesting about this, boy, that's make that get smaller. Let me try this one more time. I have a version of this that I can zoom in. I'm just going to have to break my system to do it. So give me a second to break something. Ooh, that's fun. Nope, there we are. Okay, and let's try that again. There we are. There's the zoomed in version. See, I knew we'd get there eventually. Okay. Except I'm still going to need to step on this side here. Duke. Man, you're getting a version of us tonight, aren't you? So this is 9Z. Let's walk this back when this is more developing. So here's our broken line of storms there, 4 p.m., 5 p.m., 6 p.m., where you have some of these thunderstorms a little stronger right on the boundary. There's a couple of thunderstorms out ahead. This is our RFS model. And a couple of these stronger thunderstorms try to get onto that boundary, whether it's warm frontal, whether it's cold frontal. That's concerning if that ends up happening. Let's see if I can pull up updraft helicity on this. Oh man, that's going to throw that off because we had the storms tonight, and that messes up. So we're not going to get a good look at this until afterward, because this makes it look like, oh, look at this. Well, this is picking up all that rotation we had from tonight's storms. So that's worthless for now. It's okay. We'll eventually be able to get that back up. Okay, Gabe. We're way past time to do this. Let's look at your weather pictures.
Okay, well, I have some honorable mentions that are not hailstones, but I do want to go over some of our top 5 hail nominations. And as you can see, one that Maggie showed earlier on today was this starfish-looking hail report. It was a very unique development that it had, and it kind of shows that water just kind of accreting there on the sides and making for a unique shape. This was one of our first hailstones over there in Monroe County. And, they're not the biggest, but nonetheless still have an impressive structure with that hailstone there in the middle and some of the rings that are almost accreting around it once again. And as you take a look there, this is one of us that were from the first half of the day. And honestly, I was almost expecting this to be the winner, about 1 inch in diameter. And that was, of course, shown with the quarter in hand. So another reason why I appreciate it is because it has a measurement. And that was really what came in handy when talking about these storm reports. And of course, our winner. And yes, I know that, some of the hand pictures had arguments of being big. This one, I don't see it passing because, well, it's kind of hard to see actually looking at the monitor there behind me. If we zoom things in, you can kind of get a visual there. There's your stone, and we're talking about, a pretty good chunk, probably about 2 inches. And that's shown with the quarter underneath it, as a quarter is about 1 inch. So I do expect that this is probably the winner. And, I got everything together and did not even look at a name for that. Bear with me. I'm going to find it right now. That is from Tracy in Columbus. And it makes sense. Columbus, one of our larger locations when it came to those hailstones. So that is, of course, where our winner will come out of tonight. And some of that hail showing up on the sides of the roads. This was just a really cool picture because it shows all the different elements of hail, from the snowy, icy almost look that it has, and you can see it kind of blanketing the sides of the roadways. You could tell me that's a winter day, and I think you would have an argument in my head for at least a brief moment. But no, that hail lining the sides of the roads, and then as it begins to melt, you get some of that hail fog as well. So two unique factors that come with hail, and we got to experience that tonight again over there in the Monroe County and Lowndes County area, where we got the highest of those hailstones. So with that being said, there's our winner. And so if you want to, actually, we'll reach out to you through email and let you guys know, or let you know how to pick up a gift card. But I appreciate the folks at True Shield Roofing for allowing that to be possible. And we really appreciate that partnership, because it does make such a difference in helping people recover from these nasty storms that we had today. All right, my honorable mentions, and we're going to start with a couple because I chose them for a reason. This is a look out there in the safe place in Pontotoc when that tornado warning was moving on through. Of course, you have the lights, you have the helmets, you have the pillows, you have everything you need, and I don't see a single window there. So doing a great job of sheltering from those storms as they moved across North Mississippi, specifically that tornado warning as it moved across North Mississippi. Although we don't expect anything touchdown, it was still a time where there was a tornado warning, and you guys did a phenomenal job. Again, did a bad job with names. I apologize for that, but nonetheless, appreciate you sending that in. Appreciate your safe place selfie. We'll always air that because we always want to give credit where people are doing what they're supposed to. Now, this was over in Thaxton as well. This was a look at where that tornado warning moved on through. And as you can see, that tree did fall onto the vehicle, showing some of the damage that occurred in North Mississippi aside from those large hail reports. And so that was one of our more significantly damaged areas on top of Columbus, with those trees going through the homes. Haven't gotten pictures of that just yet to show you guys, but nonetheless, we got a report from the EMA director and know that that did happen. This was a report of some of those rainfall totals, and this is just mind-blowing because it leads to a whole other element. We're talking 5 inches over the past 2 or 3 days, and that's a large amount of rainfall that results in this flooding that we got over there towards the, I believe, Big B area, if I remember correctly. And so that's the creek out there that is Shiloh Creek that is flooded. And on top of that, last one, this was what Matt showed near the end of our live stream, showing you the lightning strikes, basically taking out one of those power poles. So unique pictures and all of that submitted through the Mississippi Live Weather app. So as we head into this week with another severe weather threat possible, we appreciate all of our weather watchers letting us know what's happening out there in the field. Hope that you continue to do so heading into Wednesday. It is through the app that you're able to send those in. It's through the app that you're also able to win the $100 gift card, stones larger than an inch, with the potential heading into Wednesday. We could see some large hail out of that as well. Just do so in a safe manner. But we're looking to give back and help you guys out in the process. So appreciate all of our weather watchers for showing up and showing out. Once again, you guys do so every single time. And yeah, continue to send those pictures in throughout the week. And again, a big congratulations to our winner there, Tracy, in the Columbus area, for submitting this picture of a very large stone. Glad you guys stayed safe, and appreciate all of our top 5 and our honorable mentions as well, Matt. But it was a active night for sure, and glad that it's finally over, and glad it ended before too deep in the night so we can actually go to sleep in a pretty calm condition. So definitely looking better.
Absolutely. You know, I have some pictures here that came in the last couple of minutes. This is not, I think, tonight. Madison was trying to figure out the timing on this, but the picture you see behind me here is in the Iuka area and occurred at some point here in the last couple of days. So I'm going to change it back over here to a window that was kind of busted out there in Iuka, either from the wind or something else. And over the course of the weekend, she thinks the wind could have been it. Again, that glass shattered away there. Sad to see that one way or another, but Madison there in Iuka sending in those shots there. Then obviously that led to some water intrusion on the inside, unfortunately. So something we definitely don't want to see. Again, you can share your pictures with us, as Gabe mentioned. Our meteorologist, Maggie McCauley, will have the next update here, our broadcast tomorrow morning at 6:30 a.m., 7 and 7:30 a.m. every day here in the Room to Room Weather Center. What she will begin to be tracking is the latest on all of the active weather that is coming for Wednesday in particular, and severe weather chances. You can check her out for the latest. Again, 6:30, 7:30 a.m. here in the Room to Room Weather Center. She'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on with that, and appreciate her for all of her hard work and you for, again, watching her all the days of the week that you do. So our next live broadcast will be in the morning. We'll have another one again coming up tomorrow afternoon. And I realized that I hit this just a second early, and that means that that's going to pop off. So give me a second to pop that back on one more time here. Again, 6:37, 7:30 a.m., and then 5, 6, and 10 p.m. here in the Room to Room Weather Center, Mississippi Live Weather app. Make sure to download that. A weather call helps keep you ahead of any issues that we do have coming forward here. Clear it off one more time, Gabe. Anything else you want to go ahead and add? As I'll bring, I guess, back over here and bring Gabe back up in case we wrap up here. Been a long day. We've talked about a lot of stuff. Have not touched much on power outages. Gabe Maynor. Nailing it, because I had blanked on that lately. Let's look at the power outages here.
Well, it's trending in the right direction at the very least. And so while we're tracking those power outages, and is still a good chunk of folks that are dealing with those outages, it was nearly 400 earlier on today, especially in that Alabama State line area. To some sporadic outages of 20 to 27. But 75 working to get that resolved there with 4 County. But we are grateful for all of the power line men and women that are out there fixing those lines and letting us know, or letting us have a sense of normalcy heading into those overnight hours. So that goes for 4 County, Northeast hard at work as well, as you can see there towards Northwest Pontotoc County, seeing numerous outages, but definitely not anywhere close to the 4,000 that were out of power just about 6 hours ago. So it shows the hardworking linemen and women that are out there. And again, we appreciate them. So grateful that we have them here in North Mississippi that are getting us back in working order and getting us back on our feet. So we're saying a prayer for all of those that are affected, but at least those without power are getting it back tonight. And it's not going to be an extended time frame where we're not having power. So at least there is that with this setup.
Absolutely. Appreciate that, Gabe. And again, we want to be clear here for a moment. We're in all clear, go to bed, go to sleep mode on all this stuff here. So when I'm doing this coverage, I tend to miss some of the pictures that come in. There have been some here. I'm sure that we have shown this, but this is from the Clay Canvas area, behind Clay Canvas in Oxford, Christamine there. I mean, this is some of the flooding, and that's just some wow flooding. Now, granted, it's probably coming from the creek that you kind of see back there, but that's some sad flooding. This shot here, again, the cat, I mentioned my dog here that's in perfect tripping position, and this cat enjoying whatever was going on out there with the weather at that point. Appreciate that one coming in from Etta Pitts, sitting in that picture there. Again, it was a lot of light, a lot of rainfall, a lot of flooding sort of pictures coming in earlier this afternoon. I mean, that's pretty much everything that we had for a while there. I mean, look at these 2 kind of back-to-back shots, these coming from the Pontotoc city limits there of some of the flooding that they had. As you can see, just water kind of rushing down that driveway at that location there. Again, you can share your pictures. I'll pop up those QR codes where you can share your pictures with us there, but definitely the water kind of flooding around, moving around there at a fairly high rate of pace. So this is me just kind of catching and looking back here. And I know Gabe's probably everybody's shown some of these over the course of the day. But near the Pontotoc Warrior baseball field, a lot of water. Okay, Gabe. I'm sure Gabe's going to tell me as I pop up his audio behind the scenes about all of these that he has shown before that I've just missed. Because a lot of times when Gabe's showing pictures, I'm looking at some other things here. You've shown all these before, haven't you?
If not all, most. Just kind of highlighting the flooding early on that we had. And then the first hailstones that we received over there towards Monroe County. And then as we've worked through the afternoon, kind of getting a few more of those reports in Lowndes County, Clay County, even got a couple of those scary looking skies that we were able to show. And
did you show this one from Jamie?
I showed a Jamie picture. What is that of? The overlays on it.
It's a drone shot.
Oh, then I have not shown that one.
So this is a drone shot. See, I found one.
Wait,
look at this.
Is that Shiloh Creek?
Dogtown looking west.
I think that's Shiloh Creek.
Why you say that?
Because they sent in a picture of one of the latest ones and it was completely flooded.
So same shot?
Same shot, but I think it was later on. If that's the same picture, I was like, I know that name Jamie rings a bell. So go to one of the latest ones.
Well, now he sent in some drone shots the last couple of days.
No, this was from tonight. So there's a drone shot that was submitted. Keep going.
This one here?
Yes. Look at my brain. It brained.
There you go. Your brained. So it might be a little later on. I don't know if that's the same creek, but
I think the other
Anyway.
one's close to Dogtown too. So I don't know, but
okay. Well, Gabe, I think we call it a night. You got any reason not to?
no, Wednesday's reason too, so that way we can get ready for that and get a little bit of our stamina back.
Yeah. You send in those pictures. I do know that we've had a few people kind of send in a few of the last 30, 40 minutes or so. And again, so thankful to all the folks out there that sent it. We've had them from all across the region today. So just thank you guys so much for sharing your pictures with us. I don't know that I think we've seen this one. This is right before the 10 o'clock show. Maybe we haven't. Have you seen this one from Tupelo
I've not
earlier?
seen that.
Look at that.
Where's that at?
It says from Tupelo earlier, and I recognize that. My brain's not. That looks more like New Albany. Because it's B&A Bank. I feel like that's 15 New Albany, but it could be
It does
wrong.
look like Highway 15.
But
Either way,
that's a pretty good little zap, huh?
I said either way. I mean, it was 2 active areas tonight with lots of thunder. We know that here at the station. So
Yeah, exactly. We're gonna have to fix that. Thanks for reminding me.
I guess our night's not over.
It's never over, Gabe. Never over. Okay. Well, y'all have a great night. Again, our next live broadcast will be tomorrow. It's going to be at 6:30 a.m. Maggie will be updating that Wednesday forecast for severe weather. And then we'll both be back 5, 6, and 10 tomorrow. Keep it here for the latest. And thank you so much for supporting us here on Mississippi Live Weather.
People tell me how lucky my daughter is to have been adopted. But really, we're the lucky ones. Learn more at adoptuskids.org.
Even though Gabe grew up in Alabama, Mississippi has now become his home and his family. One thing about Gabe is he's safe.